Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in. We are exploring the fascinating and honestly pretty wild intersection of national identity and personal narrative. We'll be unpacking this through the post-colonial themes in Salman Rushdie's absolute masterpiece, Midnight's Children. If you've ever wondered how the grand sweeping arc of history actually connects with the quiet, messy, everyday lives of individuals, well, you're in exactly the right place.
So what actually makes a nation? I mean, really think about it. Is it just a matter of geographical territory? Is it simply the political government in charge or the borders drawn on a map? Or, as we're about to see, is a nation fundamentally created through our memories and our personal stories? Keep that question in the back of your mind, because how we answer it completely flips how we understand history itself.
Okay, first step, handcuffed to history. The birth of a nation and a boy.
Picture this, the exact stroke of midnight on the very day of India's independence, literally the moment the nation is born. This is also the exact moment our narrator, Saleem Sinai, is born. Saleem famously uses this brilliant phrase, handcuffed to history, to capture his relationship with his country. His personal life is symbolically, permanently, and inextricably tied to the history of the nation. But here's the catch. Saleem is not narrating this like some official historian reading straight out of an encyclopedia. Not at all. He is a deeply subjective, highly unreliable narrator. He mixes these monumental national events with his own personal and sometimes very flawed memories.
Because he's handcuffed to it, his life literally unfolds right alongside the country. Saleem's personal milestones mirror the nation's turning points. From his birth at independence to the devastating partition in 1947, all the way through the massive political upheavals of the emergency in 1975. His personal joys, his family drama, his profound losses, they develop directly alongside these massive historical shifts. The big takeaway here, history isn't just found in dusty textbooks. It's lived. It is breathed and experienced by everyday people. That brings us to our next point, the problem of fixed identity and the midnight swap.
So early in the story, a nurse named Mary Pereira does something unthinkable. She actually swaps two babies at birth. Now, this swap is a perfect, tangible example of the academic concept of hybridity, a term coined by the scholar Homi K. Bhabha. Hybridity basically tells us that identity is incredibly complicated. It's not just determined by the DNA you happen to be born with. Instead, it's heavily shaped by your family, your class, your culture, history, and your social circumstances. Because of this midnight swap, we see how individuals can belong simultaneously to entirely different worlds. The result of that swap? A complete reversal of fate. Saleem, who was biologically born to a poor family, is raised in immense privilege. Meanwhile, Shiva, biologically born into wealth, ends up growing up in severe poverty. But Saleem and Shiva are way more than just two guys with a crazy origin story. Their drastically different upbringings reveal just how unstable supposedly fixed categories like class, family lineage, and even identity truly are. It really forces us to ask, are we born who we are? Or does the world make us who we are? And this leads us to the Midnight's Children Conference. Saleem imagines this gathering of all the children born in that magical window of independence. And these aren't your average kids. They have extraordinary abilities. Saleem has this telepathic, constantly dripping nose, and Shiva has these incredibly strong knees. Together, they represent this profound, beautiful hope for a plural, diverse, and unified new India that can move past old fractures. But tragically, that unity is destroyed by deeply entrenched divisions in politics, religion, class, and power. It's a gut-wrenching metaphor for just how hard it is to maintain unity in a fractured society.
Now let's transition to a slightly darker theme here, the nation in the body, geography and state control. There is this beautifully surreal and powerful metaphor in the text, where Saleem's actual physical face is described as being literally mapped onto the geography and political divisions of the subcontinent. I mean, think about that for a second. The nation isn't just some abstract concept happening around him, it is literally etched onto his physical form. It proves that national history is never completely distant from the individual. Political boundaries inevitably and sometimes violently intrude upon private lives and physical bodies.
And that intrusion gets terrifyingly literal during the historical period of the emergency. In Rushdie's narrative, the state starts to view these magically gifted Midnight's children as a direct threat. The government responds with what the novel calls a spirotomy, which is forced sterilization. Within the context of the story, this isn't just physical violence. It's a profound symbolic destruction. By taking away their reproductive futures, the narrative portrays the state actively destroying the extraordinary, pluralistic potential that these children represented for the whole nation. Those magnificent promises and the boundless hope we originally saw at independence, they are systematically replaced by an oppressive fear. It's a really sobering look at how absolute political power attempts to cage not just physical bodies, but futures, possibilities, and dreams.
But hey, it's not all despair. Let's look at reclaiming the English language and finding an Indian voice.
Despite all that heavy state control we just talked about, empowerment can actually be reclaimed through something as everyday as language. Enter one of my favorite terms, chutnification. English might have arrived in the subcontinent as the language of a colonial power, but Rushdie absolutely refuses to keep it purely British. Instead, he puts the language through chutnification. He mixes standard English with vibrant Indian expressions, local cultural references, and linguistic blending. As Rushdie explores in his essay collection Imaginary Homelands, speaking English doesn't mean a person is just accepting a colonial identity. Actually, scratch that. It's more like the language is reshaped to express Indian experiences. An inherited colonial language is completely transformed. It stops being a symbol of oppression, right? It becomes this vibrant, customized tool for expressing a brand new cultural reality. It's just a brilliant example of taking something imposed on you and making it entirely your own.
Which brings us to our final theme, the meaning of belonging, living with contradictions. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here regarding post-colonial belonging? Well, Saleem's wild, complex life teaches us that true belonging is complicated. It's not fixed. It absolutely does not require a single, pure identity, one specific language, or some officially sanctioned version of history. Identity can be incredibly fragmented, completely contradictory, and yet still be profoundly meaningful. Ultimately, it's all about that vital connection between the private individual's experience and the grand public narrative of the nation. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. If we accept that a nation truly lives in its families, its bodies, its memories, and its languages, how do your own personal contradictions create your personal history? If belonging means living with the messiness and the contradictions created by the past, how will you continuously create your own meaning from them today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this sparks a whole new way of looking at the history that surrounds and shapes you.